You at least. Oh crap! I didn't do.
Well, we're live now.
Sorry. I missed the intro, but hello.
Hi. I guess we're not doing our intro tonight.
I could still do it if you guys want me to, but it might take me a second because
we have a cute background, so let's talk about that.
It's cute. It's cute. Christy decided to make us an awesome background. So Christy, you want to get into that?
Oh, well, I mean, there wasn't really anything super special, but I just thought it would be fun. I've seen some people adding the backgrounds, and I just thought, how fun would that be if we had a little Savannah and a Lioness going on? So
I love it, honestly. We were just talking about it before we started streaming. I still could do the intro. I'll do it really quick.
She has to do it.
Welcome to Lioness Lifestyle Live.
So my name is Lindsay.
And my name is Christy.
And my name is Ellie. And we are all eating a meat-based, nutritious diet.
We will have discussions concerning women's health and their unique perspectives on keto and carnivore diets.
To discuss topics such as motherhood, aging, weight loss, pregnancy, mental health, and much more.
We hope you join us to Chew the Fat on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. See you then, Lionesses.
There we go.
And we're live. Welcome to Lioness Lifestyle Live, everyone.
Yeah, we're so excited to meet you this evening.
And get your questions ready for our awesome guest who we're about to introduce today. Please, if you have a question, put like a Q next to it, or like a bunch of question marks so that we can distinguish which ones are questions and which ones are awesome comments as well.
All right, I think I am ready for the roar of the week. I don't know about you ladies, but this is one of my favorite parts of what we do here. So every single stream after the live is over, we'd love for you guys to go in and make comments there, and then we read them throughout the week. And then every week when it gets to be towards Tuesday again, we go in and we pick one to shout out. And so our roar of the week this week is from Ketogenic Woman, and she said that she did miss the live with Sophia, which was so awesome last week. But she missed it, but she did catch the replay, and she said it was so awesome that Sophia discovered the proper human diet so early in life. I hope other young people see this. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I really, really hope other young people, end up somehow getting a hold of that, because I know if I had been at her age, if I had seen that, I think, it could have made a difference for me. So thank you, Miss Ketogenic Woman, Anita, for making that roar of the week this week.
All right, so let's bring our guest. Welcome, Lynn, to Lioness Lifestyle Live. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your health journey so far and how you found meat-based eating?
So I have a couple things. I've got weight gain, but I also have health conditions that are unrelated to the weight gain. But I grew up a normal sized child and teenager. And, my parents grew up in the Depression, and I had basically depression sized meals, every day. My mom really made sure I didn't overeat because they never overate. But when I was in my early 20s, I started getting symptoms of polycystic ovarian syndrome and started gaining weight from that, and had irregular periods and a lot of pain. And then after getting married, a couple of years later, the doctors put me on birth control pills just to control the bleeding. But then we wanted to try have children, and found out I couldn't have children. We tried, and we did 4 times. We did artificial insemination, and our insurance wouldn't cover in vitro, so we never went that route. But after 4 failed attempts with artificial insemination, I was just emotionally beat up. And through the course of all those fertility treatments, which spanned several years, my mental health was in a wreck. I mean, I started having horrible panic attacks. At the time, I wasn't a nurse. I just recently retired from nursing because of another health condition, but I was teaching high school, and I would often have to leave the classroom because of severe panic attacks. And so I decided I couldn't do any more fertility treatments, and it just wrecked my body. And no matter what I did, all throughout my 20s, I was really restricting my diet. I was eating maybe 500 to 800 calories a day. And I remember one time when we were just getting started on fertility treatments, and we had to go to an appointment with a nurse to show us, my husband, how to give me the injections, which were in, the back of my hip. And I was so self-conscious about my body at the time. And I think I weighed maybe about close to 250 pounds at that point. And I'm 5'8". And so I made a comment just offhand that, oh, this would probably be easier if I could lose weight. And the nurse just made this comment, well, you could lose weight if you ate less. And I turned to her and I said, really? Less than 800 calories a day? I was just so put off. Like, really?
Your body
Seriously?
was in starvation mode. You're not
Yes.
gonna lose weight. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. And she didn't offer any suggestions on how. She just made this like flippant comment about you should just lose weight. And
Eat less calories. Yeah, no.
Yeah, eat less calories. Exactly. As if eating less calories.
Eat more calories. Body will get out of that starvation mode.
Oh my goodness, especially after
so
all those.
unprofessional.
Yeah, it's very, and being a nurse, I wasn't a nurse then, but being a nurse, I look back at that and I go, oh my gosh, who taught her? But
bedside manner was not great.
No, none. Yeah. And so we just eventually, I was done emotionally. I couldn't do any more treatments, and we decided to adopt. And so we went through the FOS Adopt program, and we ended up getting, when I was 30, 31, we ended up getting our son. He was 4 at the time. So we didn't get infants. We got kids that had been in and out of a lot of foster homes. Wow. And then and then a couple years later, we got our daughter, who at the time was 5.5. And there was only like a 10.5 months difference between the two. He was a little bit older than her. And, just the whole stress of the past 10 years, still struggling with panic attacks. About, maybe a year after we got our daughter, I had a complete breakdown. And I was working, and I ended up taking myself to a psychiatric hospital, and they admitted me. I was convinced that I was going to die. It was an irrational thing going on in my head, and obviously they saw that. And so they admitted me, and I was there for 5 days. And then I went through a lot of rehabilitation. I went through an outpatient hospitalization program, and it took me years, probably 2 to 3 years, before I could really function again. When I came home from being in the hospital, I had no energy at all. It drained the life out of me. My mind was, I went from, at the time I was working as an accountant. I was done with teaching. I was working as an accountant. And I went from being able to function as an accountant to not even being able to bathe myself in 5 days. Wow. And because my brain was just done. And it took a long time to be able to recover from that. And I still have a little bit to this day, a little overwhelmed when it comes to multiple steps in a process. I have to learn to break them down, and because my brain just can't do it. But that was a really rough time. And so I was very sedentary. And over the course of my 30s and just trying to recover and raise these 2 kids that both had special needs because of neglect and abuse, I just continued to gain weight. And I was having some other weird symptoms off and on, and that started in my 20s. And growing up in the Central Valley of California, it was hot. But I noticed that I would get overheated way faster than a normal person should. No matter how much I hydrated, no matter how much I wore a hat and, tried to stay in the shade, I would go from being okay to maybe 30 minutes in the sun in the heat, and I would feel like I was on the verge of heat stroke, and I was nauseated, and I would have to lay down, and I had to get out of it. And so those types of things started happening, and it wasn't, and so I just kind of brushed it off, and I kind of ignored it. And then I ended up going and changing careers, and I became a nurse. And I was still very heavy. By the time I became a nurse, I was probably around 290 pounds. I carried my weight pretty well, so I was pretty functional as far as, being able to do nursing, and I was strong. And I was doing okay until about 2015 or 14. I had this dizzy spell and tachycardia at work. And I was working in a hospital. And of course, all my nurse colleagues kind of rushed around me, and then they took my blood pressure. It was through the roof, and sent me down to the ER. And they did a full workup on me, and everything, they didn't find anything. Everything was fine. Did a full cardiac workup, stroke, CT scan, everything, no problem. And the doctor said, oh, well, it's probably your inner ear, and sent me home with some medicine, which didn't help at all. And then I ended up going to see a neurologist and got a brain MRI. Didn't find anything. And so I just kind of moved on and thought, all right, well, I guess that's just an anomaly. And then a couple years later in 2016, it happened again. But this time I was at home, and instead of dizziness, it was my throat swelling and severe tachycardia. And I just had this sense that I needed to take some Benadryl and call 911. And so that's what I did. And I unlocked the front door, and then I sat there and waited for the EMTs to arrive. And by the time when they came, which was really quickly, they took my blood pressure. It was like 220 over 120, which is really bad. I mean, that's like hypertensive crisis almost. And so they took me into the ER, and the doctor in the ER did some testing for thinking it was maybe an allergic reaction because of the throat swelling. But all my allergy testing came back negative. But there was one positive, which was called a serum tryptase. And said, it's not allergic, but the serum tryptase test is abnormal. And I'd never heard of that test before. And so he said, I want you to go see an allergist. So I did. And that began a process that took me 6 years to actually get a diagnosis, because I ended up being diagnosed with something called mast cell activation syndrome last year. And I think one of the reasons why it took so long to get a diagnosis is because the doctor said, I want you to get he ordered another tryptase test and a 24-hour urine collection. And he says, I want you to do it right when you have an attack. Well, my attacks turned into severe dizziness, nausea, and abdominal cramping that had me doubled over in pain, and usually triggered by heat. And the next time I had attacks, I had 2 of them. My husband and I were on vacation, and I couldn't get the tests done. And even if I was home, I would have been in bed doubled over in pain. So it took a long time. So I finally got diagnosed during the pandemic. I was working outpatient nursing. And when they had our nursing team start to come back in to see patients again, I had a reaction from the heat from my breath with the mask. I got the same kind of attack, dizzy, nauseated, I was going to pass out, heart rate went way up. My boss said, go home. And fortunately, I was able to work from home. I'd already been working from home 1 day a week, just talking with patients and helping patients over the phone. So I ended up doing that for basically the whole pandemic. But then last year they said, well, we need nurses that can be in the office. So either you come back to the office wearing a mask, or we're going to have to see if we can maybe find another job for you. And so I asked him, well, can I go get a second opinion or get a doctor to look at me? And that's when they said, yes, go ahead and do that. And that's when I ended up going back to the allergist, and they diagnosed me with mast cell activation syndrome. I had to get a bone marrow biopsy. I did a genetic test, and I have a related condition called hereditary alpha tryptosemia. And so I ended up getting a really bad flare last May when I had this, like, ended up with this abscess on my chest that was really, really infected, and it put me out of work. I had to go on medical leave, and I was never able to go back because the flare was so bad. I was just so reactive. My body seemed to react to everything. And my allergist was useless. So I ended up finding a good naturopathic doctor who dug in, learned about mast cell activation syndrome. There's the only experts in it in the country. There's 4 places, and they're all on the East Coast. So this doctor was great, and we ended up, I'm still working with him. We're getting things settled down. But through the course of being on medical leave starting in June of last year, I couldn't function. My brain wasn't working. And right before that, I knew something was going on, because I would be on the phone with patients and I would lose my words, or I'd start to stumble over my words and slur my words. My brain would freeze. I would get nauseated and dizzy. I would have to go lay down. My energy was just nothing. I couldn't stay awake. And so that was my life last June. Once I was on medical leave, I couldn't do anything. I was just laying around and scared all the time, because I had these scary episodes and had to go to the ER a couple more times for the throat swelling. And so it was really a scary year. And throughout all that, I became even heavier. I ended up at almost 340 pounds. And my lumbar back, area was just in a mess from all the laying and around, sitting around, not being able to do anything. And I was starting to I could tell I was starting to have symptoms. I was starting to feel that a little tingling on my right leg. I could tell that there was going to be problems if I didn't figure something out. I was going to end up a cripple, and I was getting bigger and bigger. And so I had tried the carnivore diet before, back in 2021. I learned about it. I was following Dr. Mindy Pelz. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's very much on intermittent fasting, and she had a podcast with Dr. Paul Saladino. And I had never heard of the carnivore diet before that. And that podcast introduced me to the carnivore diet. So I decided to do a 30-day trial in October 2021. And I ended up doing 6 weeks, and I quit, and I was feeling so much better. But it just came to me that I need to do something. So in May of this year, I was desperate. Like, I'm going to be a cripple. I'm almost a cripple. I can barely walk. I get out of bed, and I was just like, I was an 80-year-old woman, and everything hurt. Pain, joint pain. I had bone pain. I had absolutely my life was absolutely a misery, and couldn't go into church. I couldn't even go in until after the music, because my sensitivity, my reactivity was so bad that even the vibration from the music at church would set off my dizziness. So I couldn't go out and walk, because I'd hardly do anything. I'd hurt myself. And so, so I decided to try the carnivore diet, and that's how I came to the carnivore diet. And
That's awesome.
So it's been quite a journey. And I had horrible rosacea, absolutely horrible. And that's how I actually met Ellie.
Yeah.
Was because she had subscribed to my channel fairly early on, and I decided to start a YouTube channel to hold myself accountable. And I just stole midlife from my husband's Midlife Aviator channel, which he posts nothing to, but he flies airplanes, because I'm 55, and decided to steal that midlife and put a carnivore. So met Ellie met Ellie through
Ellie again.
that.
Hi, sorry, I was having connection issues.
And then she messaged me when I was on JT's, channel, talking to JT, and asked if she could email me, and so about her rosacea. So that's how we connected. I ended up going on the Lion diet because I found that even with the carnivore diet, the way I was eating it, just all the animal products, I was doing dairy, I was doing eggs, and I was doing, the bacon and pork and chicken and everything. I have to be really careful with histamine with my condition. And so I had stopped chicken and pork, and couldn't do egg whites because they're high histamine, but I was still doing egg yolks, and I was staying away from higher histamine cheeses and being really careful about my meats. But I decided I need to do something because I'm still too reactive. So I decided to do the Lion diet. And so I did 6 weeks on the Lion diet, and today was my first day of trying to add something back. I decided I'm going to try to add back fish
Okay.
and see how
yeah.
I do.
What kind of fish are you going to start with?
So I had some salmon for lunch, and it's a little challenging right now because of the weather. Like I still have reactions. My throat swells a little bit because there's stuff in the air. This time of the year, I tend to get a little more reactive than I normally would. And so it's hard to tell if my throat swelling is the weather or if it's from something else. But I was having a little bit of throat swelling last week. But I think so far, like, my gut was an absolute mess. I did a stool test with my naturopathic doctor, and my gut was a disaster, full of inflammation. And one of the marker tests came back really elevated for gluten, and I hadn't had any gluten for months. And
So weird.
yeah, I was like, it had been over 3 months with being on carnivore. I hadn't had gluten for a long time. And my doctor was just baffled about it. Like, what? I don't understand. And so I looked up cross reactivity with gluten and realized that of the list of foods that are cross reactive, meaning that if you eat them, your body thinks that it's gluten and will form antibodies to gluten. 3 of them I had been eating, which were eggs, dairy, and coffee.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that was kind of my aha moment of, okay, I need to go on the Lion diet because my gut is a disaster. And so that was my impetus for cutting back further, was to try to heal my gut. And I was having a little bit of rectal bleeding. And so I definitely feel like the Lion diet has really settled my gut down. I feel like my gut is really better right now. I'm not having abdominal pain. My stomach feels good. Intestines feel good. Yeah. So I think it was a good decision.
That's so great. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned you have mast cell activation syndrome. Can you explain what that is and how? I mean, you said how it affects your life, but like, how is it going now since you've been on Lion diet? If you had any attacks or flare-ups or anything?
So to explain mast cell activation syndrome, we all have mast cells. They're produced in our bone marrow. They're part of our immune system. In fact, they're kind of the first thing that engages when our immune system needs to aid us. And so when the body detects something foreign, our mast cells do something called degranulate, and they basically dissolve and release over 200 chemical mediators that go out into the body. Sorry, I just about my microphone. Go out into the body and trigger all the other aspects of your immune system to come to your defense against whatever it is it detected. The most common chemical that it releases is histamine. So most people can relate to histamine because if you have allergies, so you react to something, and your mast cells degranulate, release histamine, and so you take an antihistamine. So what happens with my mast cells is that my mast cells are dysfunctional. They're degranulating. They kind of have a mind of their own. And so imagine how you feel if you have allergies. Imagine how horrible you feel when you're dealing with allergies. That was basically how I felt all the time. And mast cells are all over the body, but and so they can affect mast cell activation syndrome can affect every organ of your body, your brain. It affects your skin. It can affect, I mean, I was having like the symptoms, I can't even list the symptoms I was having because off the top of my head, because they were so vast. But every organ system, pretty much, I was having symptoms. The horrible brain fog, definitely anxiety, depression, just not being able to speak clearly. My sinuses were in really bad shape. My skin was in horrible shape. My gut was an absolute mess. My heart palpitations frequently, a lot, like heart palpitations, joint pain, muscle pain, bone pain, urinary incontinence, which is like sometimes my bladder would just release, and which is horrible.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
I'm so
that's horrible.
sorry.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. Most of the time it would be like I could feel that it was like I'd have to go and I'd be rushing to the bathroom, and most of the time I'd kind of make it, not always. I can't tell you how many times I had to go change my clothes and wash my clothes because I missed and I went on my own clothes. But there were some times where I would be almost to the bathroom and my bladder would just release, and it was just
That's
saturate.
so hard.
It happened to me in a restaurant one time.
Oh my gosh, embarrassing.
I was mortified.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so those are the symptoms. I mean, there's other symptoms, but those are the ones off the top of my head that, and menstrual problems are actually also part of it as well. So it makes me wonder, going back, whether the PCOS was because of the mast cell issue or if it really was PCOS.
Right.
Yeah.
It all seems connected.
I think all of those issues seem connected to one thing: what we're putting into our bodies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm curious now. The hereditary alpha tryptophanemia is basically, it's related because it does have to do with the mast cells. Of all those 200 chemicals that are released, tryptase is one of them. And so my body produces extra copies of tryptase. So even if I didn't have mast cell activation syndrome, I would still have the extra copies of tryptase being released. And those cause symptoms too when you have extra. So that's just a genetic thing. And I don't know how much diet affects that. I'm kind of just being a guinea pig for myself. One thing I've learned ever since I got diagnosed, and I've listened to, it's a good thing about the internet. I can go online, I can listen to these experts in this condition, and I've listened to them all. And what they have said is that this is way more common, like, than they originally thought. It's listed on the National Institute of Health. Both conditions are listed as on the rare diseases website for the National Institutes of Health. But the doctors I've listened to said that they think maybe up to 1 in 6 people have it. And doctors don't know how to diagnose it necessarily, and don't have it on their radar to even look for it. But after I got diagnosed, I thought back to a lot of patients I dealt with as a nurse that were so frustrated because they had been, like, I had been to 17 different specialists throughout the course of my life, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I knew something was wrong. But they'd either say, we don't know, or they would give me a diagnosis, but the treatment wouldn't work. And so I've talked, all these patients that I talk to that are so frustrated that they have all these multiple symptoms and the doctors can't help them. I now wonder, oh my gosh, did they also have mast cell activation syndrome? It's just a lot more common than we realize. And I don't know if it's environmentally triggered, hard to say, or whether it's something that's been around. It's just very recently discovered, maybe to 10 years or so.
So then how has eating a carnivore diet, and then you said you even went as strict as Lion diet, what symptoms, if any, have improved?
So I have one medication that I have to get compounded. It's called ketotifen. I went from having to take that. Well, no, I still take it. Sorry. It's the other two. I have rescue meds. The ketotifen, the ketotifen helped me before I went on the carnivore diet, get me a little less reactive. But I was still needing to take these rescue meds about 2 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week. So I would carry them with me everywhere I went. They just rapidly like dissolve in my mouth and kind of stop the throat swelling and settle my symptoms down. And then when I went to carnivore, I went from doing the rescue meds 2 to 3 times a week to maybe every couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then since doing the Lion diet, I went a whole month without needing to take them at all.
Wow.
And then I've only had to take them once. And I think it was because of something in the air. And now I can't control what's in the air. So I think it was because something that was in the air that triggered some throat swelling, but I've only had to take them once. And that's starting at 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah.
Okay.
So I definitely think that it's helped, and I've lost a lot of weight too. So I use a body composition scale. So when I report my weight on my channel, I weigh in every Monday. I report it as like, what does the scale say? But then also calculate how much fat I've actually lost.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
That's
And so
cool.
far I've lost like 46 pounds on the scale, but like almost just under 65 pounds of actual fat.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I wrote it down so I won't forget. I've gained a little over 17 pounds of muscle and 1.2 pounds of bone.
Yes.
And for women my age, I'm like, yes, I'll take
it. I was just gonna say, for women our age,
yes.
Give me the bone.
Yes, yeah.
It's important.
Exactly. And you know, and with the mast cell disease, I'm at higher risk for osteoporosis. And so when I look at my app for my smart scale, like my bone mass is low for my age. And so I need it to get better. And so it's just been really awesome to see that I'm gaining bone. I get so excited every time, and I can see how much visceral fat I'm losing and how much, you know, versus the subcutaneous fat and fitting into clothes that I haven't worn for a long time. My last weigh-in, so I started at 339, and my last weigh-in I'm at 293. So I'm in the high 200s. I have a long way to go.
Welcome to the 200 Club. That's awesome.
The 200 Club. That's great. That kind of leads me to a video of yours that I watched. It was one, and I watch a lot of videos, but I remembered this one because a lot of people talk about their non-scale victories, but you were on there talking about your non-scale goals, and I thought that was super cool. And I thought that was what you just said was a good kind of segue into that, because I, for one, wanted to hear you talk a little bit more about that. Now that we're a little bit, you know, in person, if you will.
Oh, sure.
You on a video.
I'm gonna go back and find my notes. My brain is still a little fuzzy every once in a while. So I wrote down
for that.
I wrote down what they are, and let me make sure I can find them. Gosh, I've got so much. Anyways, that's all right. Hopefully I'll remember them all. But yeah, no, I know that one of them was getting up off the floor without looking like a complete idiot, needing assistance by a chair. I do see a physical therapist because I've had issues with my back and hips and leg, and so I do exercises in the evening. And yeah, it's like, I think I did film myself, you know, of how I get up, and honestly, I think it's better than it used to be. I was expecting it to look mortifyingly bad. And it actually was like, okay, it's not quite as bad as I was expecting it to look. I filmed myself after I did the video sharing my goals. And so I said, oh my gosh, I look ridiculous. And I thought, oh, it's not nearly as bad as I thought. But my goal is to be able to get up without assistance. and not looking like an absolute like
You're
toddler.
gonna get there so soon.
Yeah.
You're gonna get there.
It's going to be a little while. One of them was chairs, wanting to be able to, like, haven't gone and got my hair done in a salon for so long. One of them is to be able to dance at my daughter's wedding, which is coming up in May, and be able to be able to actually,
so
to be able to actually have some stamina. And of course the big one that I put for number one was to fly my husband's airplane. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
That
sounds so fun.
Now you see why I brought this up, right?
I don't fit in his airplane. I mean, and the door won't stay closed.
That's
like
it's a safety issue, Lynn.
It's gonna happen though.
No,
but don't you love having the tools to get there though? Like you have the tools, you know what to do. You're gonna get there. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, he said that really a passenger needs to be under 250 pounds. I want to get a little lower than that because I don't want him to have to adjust his fuel tank, because like if he carries someone who's a little heavier, he maybe can't fly on a full tank of fuel. But yeah, I've never flown with him. And he
can share his world. You can share the sky with him. That would be so romantic.
Yeah, he loves taking me hit people up in his airplane, and I can't go with him, and so I'm on the ground, and he'll fly, and he'll circle over our house, and so I can I go out in our back and I wave at him and everything, but yeah, I'm never able to be up there with him. So that's going to be, I will definitely film when I get to have my first flight with him. And another thing I didn't mention that it is also a goal, but I didn't mention it. It kind of goes along with flying. So we have our older daughter we adopted her at age 29, and she lives in Texas with her husband and kids. And she is the biological sibling of our youngest daughter, who we found her, and they're full biological siblings. And we went and met her in 2017. And we kind of stalked her for a little while on Facebook after we found her, because my youngest daughter just didn't want to have anything to do with any siblings that had anything to do with their birth parents. So she wanted to make sure that there was no evidence of any relationship with the birth parents, because the birth parents were terrible people. And so once we realized that, okay, it looks like she has no relationship, we reached out. We ended up meeting her in 2017, and then she bonded with us right away. And I mean, it's unbelievable. They're 6 years apart, but they look alike, they talk alike, they walk alike, they act alike, same facial expressions. And Catherine, our oldest, remembered our youngest because she was like a little baby. She was like a year and a half when they all got separated and put into foster homes. And Catherine was the older child that was kind of taking care of her when parents were nowhere around. Well, dad was in prison, but so it was like being reunited with her baby sister. But she started calling us mom and dad. She just bonded with us right away. And I know the first time I saw her, I looked at her and I said, "This is my daughter's sister. I should be your mother." I didn't say that at the moment, but we waited about a year just to see where the relationship went. And then we asked her, "What would you think about if we legally adopted you?"
Aww.
And she had been lied to by parent figures and adults her whole life. And we'd already committed that we would be her parents, but we wanted to make it legally, show that we meant it and that she would never have to worry. But anyways, about us abandoning her. But she lives in Texas. And I haven't been able to since fly down there to see her. And especially during COVID, they were requiring the mask and I couldn't wear one. It triggered a reaction for me. And then, going out on medical leave, I was just in such horrible shape, and like my resilience was nothing. like I couldn't even go out to the store without having to come home and lay down for like hours afterwards. So I told her my resilience has to be better, and it is getting so much better. And so one of the things I'm going to do is to go fly down there and visit her and see the 3
That's exciting.
That's great.
Yeah, and today is
Yeah,
my
it's gonna be
birthday.
awesome.
So much to
Yay!
look
Happy
forward
birthday
to.
to your grandchild.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one, her latest, you know, we had, our grandson, he turns 10 today. We met him when he was 3. And then her older daughter, she was 9 at the time when we met her. And so now her little one that's 1 is the first baby officially born into our family, because none of our kids were born into our family. Yeah.
So sweet.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, how about we go say hi to some people, ladies? What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I think we should
Yes, we're on the same wavelength. Awesome. Okay. I
get into
see
the chat.
our good friend here, Miss Rhonda, always
Hi,
so supportive.
Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. Nice to
Hi,
see
Rhonda.
you. And then
She's
Rhonda
saying
saying,
hi to you. Oh,
Oh.
sorry, I think I clicked it too. She's also
Yeah.
saying hi to you specifically,
Stop
Lynn,
me.
because I thought that was cute.
it's
And
never
I
you,
thought this
Ellie.
was
Me and
cute.
Lindsay and I fight over that.
Ricky says, hi, Carnivore girls.
Ricky.
Hey. Technically, I'm ketovore, so I don't know if I qualify. But
You're an
did like
honorary
it.
carnivore.
Hi, girls from
Hi,
Susan.
Susan.
It looks like, I don't know if she's in the UK or America. The flag looks like both. So.
Well, I'll tell you where she's not. She's not in the hospital anymore. So, Susan, we're so glad.
Good.
We're
Yay,
so glad.
Susan.
Yeah, she was having some chest pains. It was like right during a live, and oh my goodness gracious! But
Oh.
Anyway, so we're glad you're here, Susan.
Susan.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're not in the hospital anymore. That's awesome. And then Ricky, these are some comments. I recently started getting some nausea 5 months after having my cold ground beef. So his lunch. And he was also saying later that he was wishing that steak was cheaper because there's a big difference between steak and ground beef. Do you guys like notice a big difference between eating ground beef and steak?
I feel a lot better on steak. And Ricky, I've recently, so because the ribeyes aren't on sale at this time of year, and I can't afford ribeyes because that's my favorite. My
So
two
good.
go-tos right now. Well, I'll say it second. You know what I'm going to say, but I'll say it second.
Oh,
My
I know.
I had tonight was not the thing that I'm going to say second. It was chuck eye steak. And the chuck eye steak is regularly $7.99. That's like regular price, $7.99 a pound.
Where do you get it for that cheap? Because I never find it that cheap.
That's crazy because California is like so expensive. That's you don't have this store there. It's a Stater Brothers. It's I think only in California.
Okay.
Lynn, you're from California.
I'll have to keep my eye out. And
I've never been able to even find chuck eye. I've been looking
I
for
can
it.
find it at
I have
Walmart.
to order it. So, so at my grocery store, they do not have them out. But what I realized is I did a whole video about it. You can go online and I can find flanken ribs. Those are regularly $8.99 a pound, but they do go on sale sometimes for $7.99 a pound. They don't have those out ever either. You can go in and just order a bunch. And then the chuck eye steak as well. You can go in and order them. And then what will happen is the shopper will go to the butcher counter for you. Like it doesn't cost any extra. I know it sounds fancy. But yeah, they tell the butcher what you want. They cut it all. And then when it's ready, they text you, you pull up and they just put it in your car. And it's no extra.
But a lot of places do that.
It's great. But that's how I get my steak on a budget. That, and then Ellie, what am I going to say? Read my mind. Or Lindsay.
Picanha. I was going to say it with Ellie. Ellie, come on. You got to say it.
Picanha.
Picanha.
Picanha. It's so good.
Picanha or sirloin cap.
Sirloin cap. It's $7.79.
I get a big one at Costco. I get a big one at Costco for like, I don't know, probably the same price, $7.99 or something like that.
It's like $7
big,
something.
And it's like, it's probably $7.99 somewhere in there.
And so
but
I'll make one of those
it's
on
like
a
this
Saturday.
big and it's like $30. It's a lot.
Yeah. That lasts me like 3 meals usually.
And I do really well with lamb as well.
Lamb's good.
And
I've yet to try it. True.
I don't like
lamb. Kind of makes me nervous.
We just cooked a lamb shoulder roast last week and it was amazing. In fact, I couldn't tell the difference between that and beef. It was so good. And lamb, my gut loves lamb. We just bought we just bought from a local rancher. We just bought a half a lamb and a quarter cow. We picked up our lamb the other day. And I know I was like, the day it was being butchered, I was like praying, dear God, please help this lamb not suffer at all.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I have such a heart for the animals. It was like hard to know that they were like giving their life up just for me. And yeah, it makes you grateful that they provide such good nutrition for us.
I agree. I think we are very lucky that we know what good nutrition is and that we can find it easily where we live. It's great, but not everyone can. Like, I don't know, I think of like Cuba, and they are lucky to have like one meal of meat a week, and it's like a small tiny portion. Maybe they'll also have eggs, but it's like hardly ever, and it's just I'm very grateful. But yeah, and then Gail said that there's also gluten in supplements. It depends on the supplements, I'm sure, but
are you taking any
be gluten?
Lynn?
I wasn't taking any at the time I had the gut test done. Yeah. Okay. So, but I did start because I've been on the line diet. I've been a little bit worried about not getting any dietary iodine. And I react to iodine. Iodine's high in histamine. And so I couldn't do like the drops. My throat swells immediately. Like I put it in water, and as soon as I drink the water, my throat swells. So I started taking a multivitamin. So, hard to say, like gelatin for me. I like a lot of the capsules are gelatin. Yeah. And you'd think that wouldn't be a problem, but they're high histamine, and my gut I'm not happy with it.
Wow.
That's why I get stuff compounded, and that way I can control better what I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then my Apex Odyssey says hi everyone with a hand
pink hand waving.
Hand pink waving. And then Simpson Johns says, I've never heard of dairy, eggs, etc. being taken for gluten in our body.
Yeah.
It's not everybody. It's not everybody that has that reaction. So, and honestly, I don't know 100% for sure if my body is reacting that way, but that was the only thing that I could come up with for why I would have high gluten antibodies when I hadn't had any gluten. Yeah. So it may not be the case for everybody.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And then I'm fortunate my MCAS.
Yeah, that's mast cell activation syndrome.
Okay, it's so minimal and just shows up in a slight increase in joint pain now. And that was from Gail also.
Oh, so Gail, you've got MCAS. I always like connecting with other people with MCAS, and to find MCAS carnivores is hard.
Yeah, Gail, go hop over to Lynn's channel and go subscribe and comment on her videos, and you guys can link up.
Yeah, because I really do like to get feedback from other people. I do have one other person that's made comments on my videos just recently that found my videos that has MCAS. So,
do you know? Sorry, real quick. Do you know Andrea Barak?
Andrea Barak?
Yeah, she has mast cell activation syndrome also.
Does she have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, she has a YouTube channel, and she's carnivore, and I'll connect with you after the show, but I wanted to make sure I didn't forget that.
Yeah, definitely let me know.
She's actually going to be our guest next week, so make sure you turn into that, and then it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then Gail also asked, have you taken the VCS test to see if you have SIRS?
I have not.
Okay.
No. It's funny because none of the doctors have even brought it up, and I didn't even know what it was until recently. So I don't know if I'm going to, like, my inflammation is down, but I do have chronically elevated CRP. So it's something that it's kind of in the background of my mind. I want to see if my CRP can improve on the carnivore diet. I mean, I know that my joint pain is so much better, and all my pain is so much better. So I'm hoping that my C-reactive protein will trend back down in the right direction. But if it doesn't, that's something that I'm thinking of that might be another thing to test for. So.
Right. Yeah. Grateful Keto. I really like your name, by the way. question, what kind of scale are you using, Lynn?
So the brand is called Renpho. I'll go ahead and write it in the chat.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, that's perfect.
Because that's the way it's spelled. RENPHO. They have a bunch of different models. I'll send you guys, Ellie, I'll send you a link to the one that I purchased because they have a bunch of models. You don't have to spend a ton of money. Mine was not very expensive, but it has an app that comes with it. And I just basically stick the phone near when I step on the scale. You got to have bare feet because it's got electrodes. And then it just feeds all the information into the app.
Okay, great. I would love to know. And then you should put your scale in like your video descriptions when you talk
I
about
need
it.
to change I've started to do that. I forget sometimes. I was going to put it in the about section on my channel too.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like I need to rewrite the about section because it was too long. And so I don't have room for a link. So I need to rewrite it and shorten it a little bit, put a link there.
No.
Yeah, because I know you get that question a lot. So that would
I
be
get that
good.
question all the time.
A
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to my about page and I just had a baby 6 months ago and I just realized it still said, I'm a mom to a 3-year-old and one on the way. Well, probably fix that one.
A little outdated there.
Yeah.
He's still on the way to growing up.
It's one of my to-do things is to update that and put that link there because and so that then in my videos I can just say, if you're interested in my scale, look at the about section of my channel, and then it's done.
Yeah, I changed it, by the way. I did change it.
No, that's
I
good.
thought that was really funny. And then my metamorphosis, or should we say Carrie, says,
Carrie.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Hey, girl.
Samantha H says, hey, yo.
Hey.
And then I'm trying to, how's the hooping? Who's she talking to?
She's talking to me because we're doing the hula hoop challenge for the whole month of November.
Got more hooping in today because she overslept and didn't get her morning walk in. I'm like reading all the reactions to that. Carnivore Kip says, wanted to say hello, everyone. Hi, Kip.
How you doing?
Simpson says hi to Kip, which is great. Talk to each other. Definitely talk to each other in the chat. We love to see it. Liber Lady or Liber Lady. Which one is it?
Liber Lady? Liber.
Okay, I don't know. Hi everyone. I'm really good at saying things all the time. Carnivore Kip says keep inspiring others because that is what we should do.
Love that.
I don't know. Do you guys see more? I'm trying to find. Oh, Susan, half American, half English. She answered my question.
I was wondering about that.
That's why. That's why. That makes sense. But I don't know where you're at, though. I still don't know where you are.
She said Ohio.
Ohio.
Oh, you're in Ohio. Perfect. There we go. I didn't read the first part. I just saw Lindsay, and that's what mattered to me, apparently. And then huge difference between steak and ground beef. Obviously, huge difference. And it's she was talking about how there is chuck steak at $6 to $8 a pound at Sam's Club in Texas, at least. Ooh. And then that was Samantha saying that. And then sirloin is less than $5 a pound at Sam's. And then there's a lot of chatting amongst you awesome people, and that's awesome. Do you guys see any more highs? I was trying to find more highs, but I'm not seeing any.
I think that's all the hellos. Oh, wait, there's this one. In a very non-creepy way, Michael Bradley says, hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies.
So, hello.
I just picture like
he
Dracula.
said that. Just because he said that, I heard it in a creepy way.
Oh, for sure. It was creepy, Michael. For sure. In my head, it was very creepy.
Exactly.
And then
Errol, hi. I know Errol.
Some people don't lose weight straight away. The body will prioritize healing. Priorities will. Sorry, my brain is not functioning. Prioritize. Thank you, Ellie. Healing first in some cases.
And that's in response to this one. So DR says, I've eaten carnivore for 4 weeks and haven't lost a pound. So frustrating.
Yeah, honestly, like, and what we were talking about earlier in the stream is that just sometimes your body just needs to heal first. And like, if you're starving yourself, eating 800 calories a day, it's not going to heal, and you're going to just your body's going to hold on to that fat like it's holding on for dear life, because it's like,
And
I'm starving, I need to hold on to this.
And there may have been muscle gain, there may have been bone gain. I mean, I guess the question I'd say is, are you taking measurements? You know, because how are the clothes fitting?
Yeah,
weight is not the only thing.
Yeah, taking measurements is something I wish I would have done from the beginning. I have since taken some, but I didn't take them from the very beginning, and I wish I would have done that. So, DR, take some measurements. If you haven't done that, I would encourage you to.
Yeah, I take measurements, and like there's times when I'm like, I don't feel like I'm losing any weight. I don't feel like I'm losing anything, and then I measure my belly or my hips or my everywhere else, and I'm like, wow, I've lost like 3 inches there, or an inch and a half, or and it's just like, yeah, of course I have. I'm eating a lot better than I ever did before, and my body knows what to do with these calories. Didn't know what to do with the calories before, so it just put it somewhere on my body. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, have some fat.
Yeah. So I know, Lindsay, when I watch yours, and same with Ellie, when I watch your videos where you show your measurements, you'll say how much weight you lost, but like your measurements are always like, how did they, in my head, I'm like, how did they only lose that many pounds, but like that copious numbers of inches? It's crazy to me.
It's crazy.
There was 1 month where I only lost like 2 pounds, and I lost like 18 inches off my body in a month, or something ridiculous. I was like,
ridiculous in a good way.
Yep.
Ridiculous in a good way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, shall we spin the meaty question? I'm feeling there might be
like we should. Yeah.
meaty question.
Spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel.
All right. I love my wheel.
It's a good wheel.
It is a good wheel. And here it is now. Can you guys see my wheel?
It's coming up. Perfect.
All right. So, Lynn, we're going to spin a meaty question for you today, and we'd love for you to answer when our wheel decides what we're going to talk about. So here we go.
I always dance.
I never get to see that. I miss out. We have hunted down a meaty question for you, Lynn. Does anyone in your family eat a meat-based diet with you? I know you talked about a husband and you talked about some children. So are any of them eating a meat-based diet with you?
My husband is. Yeah. And last time I was on Carnivore, he didn't, but this time he has joined me, and yes, he has been eating Carnivore with me ever since I started again.
Yay, that's exciting.
Yep, it's great to have that support.
That's awesome. For sure.
Has he noticed any health benefits?
Well, he's lost about 30 pounds. He doesn't require as much sleep. His energy is great. Stamina is great. He mentioned to me recently that he had to Dave, my husband.
There he is.
I had to put that up. I'm like, yeah, you do.
He's like, answer, Lynn. I got this.
Hi, Dave.
His pilot's headset. Yep.
There he is.
That's awesome. You need to post more videos, Dave.
He can run. He can run and not get winded now.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Down almost 30 pounds.
Really
That's
good.
Amazing.
It feels really good because, like, my husband and I, we both do Carnivore. Like I told you, Lynn, and these ladies already know. But it feels really good when you both do it together.
It does.
Yeah, one day. If I make a meal, that's what he'll eat. But like for other places, he's eating all the carbs.
No, you guys are getting your men to eat more meat, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, that's important for testosterone and all the other things.
They need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I won't say what I was going to say, except there's a few more wimpy men in the world today, but it's fine.
True. I'll just say it, true.
And I think it's the lack of meat in a lot of people's diets. So in the women that are their parents that are breastfeeding them, and then they grow up to not have meat. And, I'm just saying, more meat means strong men.
There you go.
I'm done.
Hey, so You're good. I was gonna say, why don't we show Lynn's channel so everyone can go and subscribe to her.
Let's do it.
Let me do the old screen share. Here we go. We have midlife carnivore.
Beautiful Savannah picture.
Is it showing?
Midlife.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, it's right there. Right.
I was so happy, like Lynn was saying earlier, to find her on JT's interview. I was so enthralled by her, and I was like, I have to contact her. I have to know why I have rosacea. What is histamine intolerance? What is this? What is that? And one of my favorite videos you did, which you probably
I like
know.
that thumbnails are all cohesive. That makes me happy.
Except for my histamine one. My histamine one, it looks like an oddball.
That's okay. It's okay. One out of most is good.
This is one of my favorite videos you've done. Is eating carnivore unbiblical, because like I was really confused about that subject. I wasn't too sure, and I think with all your videos, you're really good at not only you're really good at explaining things in a easily like digestible way. It's like you don't overcomplicate it. You say exactly what you need to hear, and I understand.
I need to go watch that video.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's on my list because I've definitely heard I've definitely heard people say that they feel that it is unbiblical. So I definitely want to watch that one. I saw it a few days ago, and it's like in my mind of things I want to do.
Yeah, I've gotten some really good feedback on that video.
Awesome.
It was something that had been on my mind for a while to go ahead and do. So I'm really glad that I actually put it out there.
Yeah.
All right. And Lynn is at 756 subscribers. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
I was at almost 800, and then I think YouTube purged a whole bunch recently.
It does. They'll do a sweep every once in a while. And
yeah. I got hit by that last week.
It's good and bad all at the same time. It's like, okay, it's good because the people that leave are the ones that don't really watch your videos, and then it's bad because you see the number go down. And it's bad.
And honestly, I want subscribers who really want to be there.
Oh, 100%.
And so, if people don't want to be really, tune in, then I don't mind if they leave.
No, I agree.
But everyone that makes comments is wonderful. I mean, incredible. The carnivore community is amazing.
Yep.
So
it's good to have your little tribe. It's good to have your little tribe of people that are there for you and you love. Yep. I love everybody. Yeah.
Me too.
Talking about difficult things.
So, do you guys want to wrap this up and give a little farewell roar?
I would love to. How about you, Lynn? Do you want to hang out with us and do a roar?
Try to roar.
Yes.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Okay. Is it a group roar or is it an individual roar?
It's a group roar.
All these lionesses need to roar together.
Okay.
Anyway, so should we do like a countdown, guys?
Yeah, count it off.
Okay.
All right,
3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much for being on Lioness Lifestyle Live. This was so fun.
Yes,
thanks for having me.
We love you all. Thank you so much. Okay, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.